Welcome back. We're discussing the upcoming presidential elections in the Central African nation of Gabon. Joining me now to discuss this is supermodel Gloria Mika. She's the founder of the Guardian Angels for Gabon, a volunteer group that plans to monitor the elections. Jean-Claude Nzamba is an activist and entrepreneur who resigned from the ruling Gabonese Democratic Party, or left the party, in protest over the presidential election process. And Francois is the Gabonese media consultant and former associate editor for allafrica.com. As we get back to these questions, I just want to start, get another question to Jean-Claude there in Atlanta and ask about the fact that Gabon, in spite of all its different ethnic groups, and I think there's about 40 different ethnic groups, has for so long remained fairly unified, and the country has been stable, something that Francois had also mentioned. How much are the people there, well, first, what's kept the people that unified, and how much are they paying attention to the various campaigning platforms, the various promises from the other candidates?
Well, I must first say that we've been pretty much analyzing the situation that's been happening. We have about 23 candidates that have actually been accepted by the Constitutional Court. Some of these candidates pretty much range from different walks of life, from people that has been in the government and have participated in the 40 years of rulership of President Bongo, but we also have some people that have been in the position for a long time, like Pierre that's been in position since 1989. But you also have entrepreneurs, one entrepreneur from the United States that is starting to go there. What had happened is Bongo actually ruled the country for 40 years using a concept called geopolitics. Which pretty much brought into the government people from different regions, so that the different people who are part of the different ethnic group actually found themselves represented at the top in the government. And those people, what they would do, they would go back to the particular region or the province where they were from and pretty much push together some programs where they would actually be able to stay in contact. So the people pretty much felt like they were represented at the top of the government, right. And that actually kept the country, well, those particular ethnic groups united.
Well, Francois, how interested are the people of Gabon in a vote, in the election? Having had the same president for more than 4 decades, has it created apathy or an appetite for change?
An absolute, undeniable appetite for change. Just as much as they were united in the loss of the late president, they're equally united in making sure that we turn the page to these 40 years where party affiliation came first and then your particular credentials, your resume came second. They're determined to make sure that this next election is about the best candidate that we can have and make sure that that person gets to the helm of the country.
Let me ask Gloria here. You created the Guardian Angels as a way to keep an eye on things. Tell me about that and where that idea came from.
Well, the idea came from the Guardian Angels initiative in New York, and I just realized that when citizens want change, they must contribute to it and not only expect from other people to make things happen. So after discussions with friends and noticing the defeatism they had and the passivity over the election issue and this concern about fraud, I was like, we cannot just stay here and think that fraud might happen and yet not do anything about it. So that's how I decided to contribute in a modest way, my own way, by creating first the Facebook group, and then I realized that I had a lot of good feedbacks and people who were concerned about the outcome of this election and who were mobilized to also fight for a fair electoral process.
Gloria, what do you think is the biggest change the people of Gabon want?
What is the biggest change people in Gabon want? From what I hear, it will be a change in terms of the political party, because they see that the government in place have ruled the country for more than 40 years. So they believe that it's time for another party to take over.
Okay, I'm going to get Pierre.
That's what I noticed from what I hear.
All right, thank you. Pierre is on the line with us. Pierre?
Yes, sir.
What was your question, please?
Oh, I don't have a question.
Okay.
I just have a comment about the following election in Gabon.
Please.
And what I truly believe is that the election have to be fair. You know, it have to be fair among all candidates, because if the elections are not fair, the problem in Gabon will be the same problem Ivory Coast had a few years ago. One, the president of Ivory Coast, this is Felix Houphouët-Boigny, he put something from his family at the head of state. He prepared the president of the assembly for, you know, the governance of Ivory Coast, and what everybody knows is
Okay.
that, you know,
Pierre, let me get this to Jean-Claude and ask, there is an issue, I mean, it's not just in Africa, of course, it's everywhere in the world. We're seeing it across regions where there is that sort of dynastic legacy where the son will want to follow the father and so on. I mean, in effect, what sort of reaction do you think the people of Gabon will give if Ali Bongo is elected? What danger of violence?
Well, the candidate of the party is not actually the favorite of the country over the population. So it would be very almost impossible if the election were transparent, if everybody had a chance to register to vote, that Mr. Ali would be able to win that elections. So it would be very unlikely, and if it happens, then a lot of people are pretty much understanding that if he wins, it would only be by fraud, because currently he is not the favorite, and most of the population want change. They want political change. They want a government that's capable of governing. They actually want to end, pretty much bring a rupture to the way the country was ruled the past 42 years.
Okay. Francois, a question we got from Somalia through Facebook. Muhammad Ali wrote in saying, free and fair elections in Gabon will only pave the way for the same post-election violence we saw in Kenya and Zimbabwe. History will repeat itself. What's your view on that?
No, it's very unlikely that free and fair election would lead to violence. It's quite the opposite, which is if the people feel that their vote has been suppressed, if they feel that they do not recognize themselves in the person who is declared the winner, that's when you pave the way for chaos. That being said, the potential for violence in Gabon is very minimal. Population is small. It's a population where more or less people are connected to one another. It's very unlikely that this will lead to protracted violence of any kind.
Gloria, were you surprised with the reaction that you got using the new media, using online techniques and so on? It seems Gabon has been fairly advanced in adopting the new media form of communication during this election.
Well, I will have to say yes and no, because most people know me here in Europe or in the international community than in my own country, because it's only now, a few days ago, that I received journalists from my country ask me for interviews, because some of them never heard about me, or, you know, and even my friends asked me to come down in Gabon, and I said that I would come down to Gabon to move the virtual campaign to be one on the ground out there, and because it was necessary. Not everybody has access to the internet, obviously, or it's also expensive, and it was necessary for me to consider going down. But I would have done so only and only if the election was postponed. Now that it hasn't been postponed, I'm registered to vote here in Paris, so unfortunately I won't have enough time to go down to Gabon and then come back here.
Okay. Landry's on the line from Maryland.
My question is, if the election is not fair, because we know there are some problems down there, so what should the opposition do?
Okay, let me get a view from Francois on this first.
Well, the opposition needs to clean its own house. How can you have 22 opposition candidates facing this one man called Ali Bongo? They're essentially, you have to remember one thing that hasn't been said so far. The election is only one round, so you can potentially have the case where somebody with only 20% of the vote ends up being the president. Why can they not unify right now behind a single candidacy? This is the problem.
So they're splitting the vote effectively.
They're splitting the vote and paving the way for Mr. Bongo.
So Jean-Claude, what do you see as the outcome then? We've only got about 30 seconds, but if I can get from you a perspective on what happens to the opposition next, if Ali Bongo gets into power, what can the opposition do?
Well, the opposition will be in a big trouble, because the fact that they are now uniting themselves, they've actually participating in causing this particular member of the PDG to win. I think what's going to happen is people that actually felt themselves rejected or their voice have not been heard will actually take it to the street.
All right. Well, we hope obviously that there isn't that violence that takes place. We'll follow what happens in Gabon. I want to thank you all for joining us with your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us as well. On tomorrow's show, we look at the U.S. government's crackdown on Muslim charities. Is it preventing American Muslims from helping those less fortunate during the holy month of Ramadan? Remember, you can follow me and get updates on the show via Facebook. Share your questions and comments with us, and we'll include them in the program. That's it from me and the team. We'll see you next time.